Okay. So what was your life like before it was interrupted by the war and the Shoah?
So I'll be answering for my father. He was an only child and went to school like any other child, and life was normal. And he attended synagogue and had friends and went on vacations with his parents.
What were you like when you were a teenager?
My father really had no teenage life as he had to grow up very fast in order to cope with the situation. He lived in fear and was worried about his parents.
How did the war change you?
The war made my dad an orphan, and he realized there's so much hatred in the world.
What do you think your life would have been like had it not been interrupted by the Holocaust?
It probably would have been normal had it not been interrupted, since he would have had his parents, and perhaps he could have attended a university.
What was stolen from you and your family during the Shoah?
My dad's father and uncle's wholesale silk business in Vienna, Austria was stolen. His parents, his teenage life, and everything else.
What lesson or lessons do you want to impart on young people today?
Appreciate your parents and don't hate people of other religions or color.
The Holocaust Center of Pittsburgh has now been around for 40 years. How has the Holocaust Center been a part of your life?
My father doesn't live in Pittsburgh, but he's a member of the Holocaust Center in Washington, D.C. since its inception. Because I live in Pittsburgh and I'm very active at the Holocaust Center, they have recorded their story for the Holocaust Center and attend many of their virtual events.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your Holocaust story that we have not asked you about?
My dad was hidden under a false identity in France and then fought in the French underground. You can hear his story on the Generation Speaker Series from the Holocaust Center of Pittsburgh.
Is there anyone for whom you light this candle? If so, can you tell us a little bit about the person?
It's not one person. It would be my dad's whole family who was killed during the Holocaust. Therefore, he would light the candle for his mother, his father, and for the 6 million Jews killed in the Holocaust.
Okay, and then start again.
We'll start.
What was your life like before it was interrupted by the war and the Shoah?
My mother attended a non-Jewish kindergarten, and everyone was nice to her. She walked to school and everything was fine until about 1938. She had a younger brother and they had fun together, and she attended Hebrew school.
What were you like when you were a teenager?
My mom was deported from Germany when she was 12 on October 22nd, 1940. She went to several schools and was in several orphanages and had non-Jewish friends with her at these schools where she was hiding in France.
How did the war change you?
So she tells me that she really couldn't go anywhere, and her brother and mother were killed in Auschwitz. She wasn't able to have a typical teenage life.
What do you think your life would have been like had it not been interrupted by the Holocaust?
My mom would have had friends, gone to college, and would have had her brother and maybe even nieces and nephews. She still would have had her mother, and then her parents would have been together as her father left for America before the war. They would have been able to still have the grocery store that her parents owned in their town of Bruchsal, Germany.
What was stolen from you and your family during the Shoah?
The grocery store was stolen by the Nazis and given to non-Jews, and their home was taken away from them. Since her father left in 1938, she wasn't able to be with him for 8 years.
What lesson or lessons do you want to impart to young people today?
Mom says you should be good to your parents and you shouldn't discriminate against anyone.
The Holocaust Center of Pittsburgh has now been around for 40 years. How has the Holocaust Center been a part of your life?
Since I live in Pittsburgh and I'm a volunteer there, that's why the Holocaust Center is also a part of my mother's life.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your Holocaust story that we have not asked you about?
My mom was in hiding for most of the war. She was in 2 different internment camps in France. Toward the end of the war, she was a French Girl Scout and still was under a false identity.
Is there anyone for whom you light this candle? If so, can you tell us a little bit about that person?
My mom would like to light this candle for her brother and her mother, who were both killed in the Holocaust. It was very difficult for her mother, and after her father left for America and her son was sent away to a school in Frankfurt and eventually to Auschwitz. So it was just the two of them. She'd also like to light this candle for the 6 million Jews who were murdered.